Hey guys, this is Justin over at J&D TCG with Danny. Just came back from Pax Unplugged. I topped at 36th place out of 140-ish, 150-ish players. I played aggro tanks. My favorite deck so far from this wave. Going into PAX, we were prepared for our locals, not really prepared for what everybody else was going to bring. So I did have some issues against bugs and cars, or 4-wide cars, because nobody really plays that where we're at, but did pretty good overall. The only weird thing was the turbo rounds were kind of weird. Went 2-1 in my turbo rounds. So that was pretty good, and then record was 6-3. So it was pretty good overall. This is my deck: Captain Impactor, the Star, Lord Megatron, and then the heavy hitter Demolisher. For you guys that don't know what these characters do, Captain Impactor, leader, tank, ranged, 3-12-2, pretty decent stats for a 7. When you flip to this mode, each of your other characters get bold 1. Helps a lot with the hunker down or the rollouts, which is kind of like your diet hunker down. In bot mode, he's a 4-12-1 with bold 1, leader range. Overall, pretty decent character. Wish there was a better tank to play in this slot, but there's not. So this is who we're running there. Next is going to be Demolisher. Everybody knows what Demolisher does. It's pretty much your heavy hitter for a 6-star. He's 3-7-3 in this mode. When you flip to this mode, each of your other tanks, for each of your other tanks, you draw a card. So if you have 2 tanks, draw, hunker down, plays off pretty well. This mode, he's 0-7-4. When this card attacks, you get extra flex based on his defense. You use that with composite armor. Gives him a bold 7, but it's not really bold because you're just flipping based on his defense. Heavy hitter, real good card. Pretty much MVP if you didn't have Lord Megatron up and running. Kind of the start of the deck, especially with the new ruling with Lord Megatron, because his flips count towards his attack, and when they recycled the deck, I was sometimes doing 11 damage direct, which was pretty gross. So, but in this mode, he's 6-17-3, leader, tank, ranged. When you flip him to this mode, they scrap the top cards off of their deck equal to the defense. So with composite armor at 6, burns through the deck real fast. You don't really put composite armor on him too much. It's mainly just for Demolisher because it's like a pseudo grenade launcher or power punch, I guess. In this mode, he's a 4-17-2, and then when your opponent shuffles their deck, they do damage to one of their characters equal to Lord Megatron's attack. So it can get up pretty high. I do like the deck quite well. The beginning team is pretty good. You don't really side out too often. I'll tell you my thoughts on my side when we get to that. Never sided my side character at all. If I would have went with the character that I thought about in the middle of the tournament, probably would have sided him a lot more. But start off with the deck. 3 Imper 5 shields, really just for the double pips. Also, hunker down will get it off. Sometimes that tough one helps. I do play a decent amount of blues in the deck, and having my bigger defense guys defend for pretty good, sometimes 5, 6, pretty surprising to my opponent. So, really it for that. Soldier's Blaster, love this card. Works really good most of the day, giving Demolisher the +3 that he needs, or Impactor, or Lord Megatron. I never really sided it out except for one time against Bugs, because Bugs would normally just knock out Impactor one swing anyways. So that was that for that. Next weapons, 3 sturdy javelins. Just getting the +2 on Demolisher was actually pretty decent, because in melee mode a lot of people were like, oh, well, you're going to put the 2 damage on. I said, well, he's melee, so he's just a +2. So it felt pretty good there. And then in ranged mode, you just do 2 damage to somebody. So that helped out a lot. I wish I saw this card more during my rounds. If I would have, probably would have did a little bit better than I did, but I didn't. It happens. Wasn't too worried about it. I'm just glad that I actually got it. So there's that. 1 force field. It's force field. It's good. Use it for, I play bolster. I play a lot of armors actually, and sometimes it can help. Also, you can get it off hunker down, which feels pretty good as well. 2 matrix of leaderships just to get some blue in there. Impactor's a leader, so you can actually get a +1 Pierce 1, which sometimes helps out. There was one game where I was going to get somebody that had the gyro blaster, but I had Demolisher already transformed him, and I just swung in with him. I still did 3 Pierce 1. The Pierce 1 was enough to get through the defense to knock it out, so it helped me in that scenario. Otherwise, you don't really need to play it, but it felt pretty good. 3 grenade launchers. It's aggro, kind of the card you need. Just a +4, feels pretty good. Sometimes I would also just transform Lord Megatron, put it on Lord Megatron, swing with somebody else when I know they're about to deck out. Just to put 8 damage on a character would feel pretty good. It would also make them waste one of their actions or weapons on something, so they wouldn't have to deal with the direct damage. So that felt pretty good as well. Favorite card of the deck, Composite Armor. Turns all of these guys super tanky, no pun intended. I wish I ran some more black pips to get this off a little bit more, because there was a lot of times where they were attacking, the attacker had 1 damage left on them. Would have felt pretty good to actually get it to pop off. Didn't, but I mean, this card's kind of just made the deck what it is. Really like this card. It's good addition to tanks. Next up, we got 2 Bastion Shields, just for the force field hate, really. It's also a +1 for Demolisher. Doesn't feel too bad, just to get rid of some of the dead cards in your hand as well. So that's why I play with 2 of those. 1 Scrapper Gauntlets, another +1 for Demolisher. These also you can plus off of the hunker downs. You can scrap more armors, more weapons, or draw a card depending if there's not a weapon. So none of these cards were really that dead, and you didn't mind scrapping them because you know you'd probably get them later eventually. The 1 energy pack for Lord Megatron. Ended up citing this card out a lot for one of my side deck cards, which I'll explain later. Was pretty good 1 match. I did play it on Lord Megatron against a Jetfire. It was just Lord Megatron and Jetfire slugging it out. It was a blue Jetfire, so I ended up just doing more damage to the Jetfire than the Jetfire could do to me. So, was pretty good. Last upgrade, going to be Enforcement Batons, just more hate. I played a pretty decent amount of upgrade hate, just because I was afraid of Galaxy, which I actually didn't play all day. So there was a lot of Galaxy there. I was afraid of just Ion Blaster and other important upgrades for him. So had that. And then 4 actions. 3 Pierce through Tyrannies, just really used it for the double pip. You never really want to KO your Demolisher or your Impactor unless you feel like it's a really good situation. I never did it. I rather just use them as a meat shield, to be honest with you, than try to go off on another turn. But yeah, just pretty much used for the double pips. 3 hunker downs. Makes the deck really good. Allows to pretty much bold 1, draw 2, and if Lord was ever transformed, you scrap the top 3 off of their deck, or more depending on what upgrade or what armor you attach to your tanks. So it was always felt really good. I always had armors in play So bashing shields never really felt that bad when somebody picked one up. Like, okay, you got to choose 3 of them. So felt pretty good. Pretty much made the deck, really, this card. Next up, Fight for Position. Played it for the black and red pip for composite. Also just played it because it's just a pump. Bolt 2 feels pretty good. Kind of wish I went with a little more bold heavy upgrade line. I was not swinging as hard as I wanted to sometimes, but it still felt pretty good. I mean, there's a couple tweaks I would want to do to the deck, but otherwise felt pretty good. Next up is just the next version. You got the 3 supercharges. Bolt 3 feels pretty good. I've swung Demolisher pretty much 18 pretty consistently. Feels pretty good. Composite, supercharge. You're going through 12 cards of the deck if you don't hit a white, so feels pretty good. Bolsters, playing 2 of them. I play a lot of armors. Never felt bad to play it, especially because when they're going to attack into something, you can play the composite armor, you could play the bashing, you play the scrapper gauntlets, even the force field. I didn't see the force field as much as I wanted to. Thought about maybe 2, but just the scrapper gauntlets and the bashing felt pretty good as is. So pretty much it for the secret actions. 1 ramming speed, just more hate pretty much against the upgrades, along with reprocess. Same difference. A lot of times I was putting on my dead, what was it, the improvised shields, and then just scrapping it. Get it out of my hand, also just healing too. Just try to make any character a little bit more survivable. Also just getting rid of other stuff. The Jetfire player I played against was really upset because I played this against him twice for a game. He would put on an energy pack on his Jetfire. I would swing into him like 1 or 2 shy from knocking him out, putting him at 23 or 22. And then he'd be like, go into my turn, and he'd just be like, you got it, don't you? I go, yep, reprocess, get rid of his energy pack, puts him to 20 or 21, and he'd be knocked out. So pretty much won me that game, and it felt pretty good. And then last 3 actions, the 40 card deck, rollouts. These are just kind of like your pseudo hunker downs. You don't get any of the armors, but you do get all of the flips. The bold one, the draw 2, the discarding, scrapping off the top of the deck. Still feels pretty good. Blue pip as well. I don't play a lot of blue pips because I do play a lot of armors, but when you do flip the blue pips with the armors, I've had Demolish or Defend for 9. Had no damage taken, felt pretty good. So that's it for the main deck. Side deck, would have changed a couple things. This was my character, Battlefield Legend. Going into the tournament, I really didn't want to know what I wanted to decide. I brought a General Megatron as well, and then I realized that I actually would have preferred to have Scrapnel, just because the decks that I lost to would one-shot my Impactor, and just being able to transform, send in Scrapnel, do a couple damage, and just have some survivability would have been a lot better. Felt like I would have had a lot better matchups against the 4 wides for my 3 wide. So, I mean, I never sided him. I thought about it against the Jetfire player just to see how it would go. Because at that point, it was the last match. I really didn't care. I was pretty tired. But never did. But he's Battlefield, so he's good. Just never played him. And then the side deck cards. Actions. 1 Espionage. Felt pretty good against... I really just put it in for combiners. Just afraid of Enigmas. Superions can be a tough matchup for my tanks. Just if I can't get enough damage in the beginning, and if they start piercing all my guys pretty heavily, because then my defense doesn't really mean anything to them. Also played it against cars to try to get the starter engines out of their hands, but they always drew it the turn that they did anyways. So next cards, 2 system reboots. This was for their Shockwave matchup, which I never played against. My deck actually has a pretty decent Shockwave matchup, in my opinion. You can usually out-tank their characters and pretty much swing as much damage as I want. And this is just so that I can keep recurring a hand, getting rid of their hand so they just don't always have what they need. Also, if I ever ran into a Daring Escape deck, just in case, but I never ran into one. I actually think I saw one there that I know of.
Just a lot of overwhelming advantages.
Overwhelming, yeah. And then the last spice that I put in, 3 focus fires. So with the new ruling that was let out a couple days before PAX, so Lord Megatron would get attack damage. So his attack could get pretty crazy. So if you can get Bolt 6 on your Lord Megatron with 3 focus fires and just to get ditch stuff out of your hand, would feel pretty good. I only did it once against the Cars player. I ended up KOing his Cliff Jumper, but it didn't matter. It was too far behind at that point. Just the amount of untapping in that deck is pretty crazy. It's a good deck. I just wish that some other cards had, decent cards like that. But yeah, it felt pretty good. I might main deck those. We'll see. Favorite card, side deck against blue, Crushing Treads. Pretty much sided in every game that I felt like I wasn't pushing enough damage. I did play a lot of blue. A couple Octone players I played against. I just sided these in. Felt great against them. Just one-shotting a lot of their stuff with Demolisher, because Demolisher would end up piercing for 7 to all the little guys, or doing more than that, depending on the situation. So it felt really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So Crushing Treads was really a good call. And then I just play some more of the armor removal. Orange Heavy, I would take out the 1 Scrapper Gauntlets and put in another Bastion Shield because I was afraid of force fields. It feels really bad when you have to swing into Demolisher. He can only do the 4 damage, so just always having the Bastion Shields ready. And then the Scrapper Gauntlets was more for Battle Masters if I saw them, but I really didn't. The only one that I did see was Sights being played. I did play against 2 Octone players, so I mean, that's just what I was used to. Also for, I don't know, any super aggro deck that was playing a lot of weapons. But yeah, I mean, this was the deck. Felt pretty good. Thinking about trying another version of the deck. Kind of want to fit in maybe an I Still Function here or there, just because I Still Functioning Demolisher back can feel really good. But, gonna try it out. But had a really good time. Enjoyed it a lot. It was very tiring.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, so this is the deck. I had a good time. Definitely gonna keep trying to plug it. Keep trying to grind, try to get better, and just keep playing with this deck. This is one of my favorite decks so far. I used to play tanks when it was out for Wave 1. Didn't feel this good. But yeah, so that's it, and we'll catch you guys later.